Ziran cowered in the corner, trembling, as the lecherous old man swirled the wine in his glass, a wicked grin on his face. "You're just a worthless little thing. How gentle I am depends on how much you're worth." Hearing his words, Ziran couldn't help but burst out laughing. She looked at the pathetic man, and her eyes turned cold and cunning. "I'm laughing because someone's in a real hurry to die." She toyed with the champagne bottle and camera on the table, then walked over to him, her voice dripping with ice. "So these are the tools you prepared for me." She then drew a silenced pistol from her thigh holster and aimed it at his head. A bullet zipped past the man's head, grazing a few strands of hair. A spray of red splattered on the wall behind him. Ziran looked at the scene and said with mock apology, "Sorry, it's been a while since I've practiced." Her eyes instantly hardened. "This time I won't miss." The man clutched the bleeding wound on his head and started begging for his life. Ziran's expression shifted, and she said in a sweet, innocent tone, "Now, call my ex-boyfriend over." Meanwhile, in the room next door, the ex-boyfriend was in bed with his mistress. She was whining about what had just happened, and he was trying to explain himself. The woman in his arms turned away petulantly. "Would you really be that cruel to her?" she cooed. He grabbed her hand and pulled her close. "You're the one I love." Besides, Ziran is already suspicious about what happened. The two of them started getting hot and heavy. A ringing phone shattered the mood. It was Director Chen on the line, urgently telling him to come over. The ex reluctantly got dressed, telling the girl behind him, "I'm just going to see what's up with Ziran." When he swaggered into the room, his head tilted arrogantly, he started, "Ziran, let me be honest, I got tired of you along." He trailed off, his eyes widening in shock. Shiran was sitting there, perfectly fine, while Director Chen was kneeling obediently on the ground in the corner. Shiran ignored him and ordered Chen, "What are you waiting for? Grab him!" The two men tackled the stunned ex-boyfriend. Then they forced some strange liquid down his throat. After being put through a few special activities, he got to his feet and started spewing threats at Ziran. She stood up and planted her foot on his chest. "The last person who threatened me is 6 feet under. You want to join them?" The man ignored her, his mind racing, thinking the wine must have been drugged. Shiran glanced at the two men beside her. "Do I really have to teach you what to do next?" They didn't dare hesitate, and each delivered a swift kick. The room filled with the man's agonized screams. Shiran watched for a moment with a smirk. Then she turned and disappeared through the doorway without a second glance. The next morning, Ziran walked calmly through her company's office. Thinking back to how she'd dealt with that scumbag half a month ago put her in a fantastic mood. Just then, the mistress saw her and strutted over, ready to mock and accuse her. Shiran fired back with a sharp retort that left the other woman biting her lip in awkward silence. "You think things are the same as they were?" the mistress hissed. "It's all over for you now." Shiran casually tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "Is that so? I think even if my shoes were covered in mud, the ground I walk on would still be cleaner than you." The mistress, seeing that Ziran was still willing to trade barbs, was about to explode with rage. Shiran looked at her with feigned confusion. "It looks like that mutt didn't tell you a few things. Guess he wasn't that into you after all." The mistress thought back for a moment, then decided to throw all caution to the wind and started shouting at Ziran. After listening to her wild rant, Ziran said, "Too bad you're only half right. I was trying to drive a wedge between you, but I'm not that smart. In fact, I should thank you for picking up the trash I threw out." The onlookers who had gathered to watch the drama started to murmur in agreement. The mistress tried to argue back, desperate to save face. Ziran stepped forward, lifted the mistress's chin, and pinned her to the wall. She leaned in and revealed the real reason she broke up with that mutt. The reason was, of course, that he was cheating. But unfortunately for you, it wasn't with you. It wasn't even with the same species. Think about it. Shiran turned and meticulously wiped the hand that had touched the other woman, then walked away with a flare. The mistress slumped against the wall, drained. Ziran's words echoed in her mind as she replayed her time with the scumbag. "Did you get tired of me that quickly? I doubt you ever even loved me." Remembering Ziran's final words, her face was a mask of confusion. Elsewhere, Shiran walked on, a wicked smile playing on her lips. "What an unexpected development," she thought. "Director Chen used the video we shot to create his own little slave of love that he can summon any time. That scumbag was too weak. There's no sense of accomplishment in torturing him." Just then, a man appeared in front of her, staring at her intently. Shiran looked up, just as surprised. "Oh, it's you." The man's voice was cold. "Ziran was killed in Bali on June 10th. Ziran didn't flinch. The man's face darkened. "Who are you?" 3 months earlier, in the Amazon rainforest, one of the most dangerous places on Earth. The streams teemed with man-eating fish, and venomous snakes as thick as water buckets slithered through the undergrowth. A middle-aged man stumbled out of the jungle, clutching a bleeding wound at his waist. He leaned against a tree, panting and cursing. As he was ranting, a figure appeared behind him. The man turned, saw who it was, and fell to the ground in terror. He tried to bribe the person, but before he could finish, a sharp sound cut through the air, and he was sent to meet his maker. A moment later, a balding man appeared next to the body, cackling maniacally. A whoosh sound came from the trees. The balding man's eyes went wide, and he too was taken out. A little while later, 3 more men appeared. They stared at the bodies on the ground, noticing a neat hole in the back of each one's head. This was a battle royale, and all the participants were death row inmates, heinous criminals awaiting execution. The sole survivor would earn a full pardon. A man with yellow hair began to explain the rules of the game. Seeing the one-shot kill technique, another man couldn't help but feel a grudging respect. The bald one thought for a second, then his eyes widened in terror. "Wait, she's hunting us!" A gunshot rang out. The 3 of them spun around to look up at a tree. A cool-looking young woman was sitting on a branch, casually twirling a pistol. The bald man pointed a trembling finger. "You're the one who killed those men?" The woman's reply was flat. "Isn't it obvious?" Seeing her calm demeanor, the bald man roared, "You brought a gun? That's against the rules!" A wicked smile touched the woman's lips. She grabbed a nearby vine and swung down from the tree with incredible agility. The moment Sylvia landed, the 3 men charged at her with their weapons. Sylvia simply raised her pistol. Bang! One of them coughed up a mouthful of blood and collapsed. The bald man tried to attack her from behind, but Sylvia sidestepped his slash, grabbed his weapon hand, and twisted it back on him. The man with the wild punk-style hair threw a knife at her. Sylvia just chuckled and dodged it. The man stared in disbelief, sweat pouring down his forehead. Sylvia pulled the knife from the tree and smirked. "Let me show you how to use a throwing knife." The knife flew through the air and hit him square in the head. He was dead before he hit the ground. The last man standing trembled, pointing at Sylvia. "She's a demon. Being called a demon by actual demons like you? I'll take it as a compliment." A man hiding behind a tree let out a classic villainous laugh. Then he pulled a remote detonator from his pocket. "The bomb will go off in 20 seconds. It's no use even if you kill me." Sylvia glanced at the remote in his hand, her expression calm. "You actually managed to bring a bomb into the game. I wonder who greased the wheels for you. It seems some restless little rats are stirring again." The man watched the numbers on the remote tick down and let loose a crazed laugh. "Let's all die together." Sylvia looked at him like he was an idiot and flatly refused. The remote counted down to 1, but instead of an explosion, the jungle fell silent. The man stared at the remote in disbelief. "Why didn't my bomb go off?" Sylvia casually played with her pistol. "You mean that little thing? I dismantled it the day you buried it. I got here a few days before you see. Sorry to burst your bubble." With that, she sent the last man on his way. After cleaning up, she said with confidence, "All 20 of them have been taken care of." The sound of helicopter blades filled the air and someone shouted her name. "Sylvia, it's so good to see you!" A rope ladder was lowered from the open cabin door. As she ascended, Sylvia looked out over the vast Amazon rainforest. Inside the helicopter, a man named Saran was like an obsessed fan. Sylvia stared out the window for a moment, then said, "Warning, we had a small breach." Soren's lazy eyes snapped open. "They want to kill you. Isn't your identity a secret?" Sylvia Mondwells, the first heir of the Mondwells family, is actually the Reaper, the legendary assassin from the death training camp who terrifies both the righteous and the corrupt. The Mondwells family was a top-tier dynasty that had existed for 1,000 years, their wealth unimaginable. The death training camp was a legendary cradle for elite agents, with a graduation rate of less than 1 in 1,000. Sylvia responded calmly, "It might just be a coincidence. The Reaper has plenty of enemies." And Sylvia was just invited to the Amazon to attend a rare animal auction. "After all, my public persona is a spoiled, eccentric heiress who couldn't hurt a fly." Her face darkened, and she smiled without emotion. This hunting game was sponsored by the Mondwells family. Whether this breach was aimed at the Reaper or Sylvia, it definitely involves a few pests within the family. They can't wait to drag me down from my position as heir. Pray for your enemies. Are you going to teach them a lesson? Sylvia's expression brightened. "No, first I'm going to China to see my little angel." "China? Oh no." Soren's cheeks puffed out in a pout. "Aren't I your little angel? I'm so jealous of whoever is lucky enough to make you smile like that." Sylvia gazed at the photo in her locket, a blissful smile on her face. No one is cuter than her. So gentle, so sweet, and so understanding. I can't wait to see her. Soren looked at the picture, surprised. "Isn't that you?" "No, it doesn't quite look like you even though you're identical." Sylvia explained, "This is my twin sister, Ziran." In the helicopter, Soren shouted in confusion, "You have a sister?" But your father, the head of the Mondwells family, only has one daughter. Sylvia's tone was serious. I only found out a short while ago myself that I had a twin sister. She's been living in China all this time. It's a strange feeling, knowing there's someone in the world who shares my exact blood and face like another me. Soren asked, aren't you afraid she'll try to take your power in the Mondwells family? If my sister wants it, she can have it. I would trade the entire Mondwells fortune to spend my life with her. For the past 20 years, she should have been the Mondwells' little princess. I will protect her. I will be her queen. But do you even know this sister? You've been separated for 20 years. After our mother passed away, I don't know what happened between her and my father. He brought me, just a newborn, back with him, and left my mother and sister behind, even hiding their existence. If I hadn't accidentally seen a photo of my sister, I might have never known I had two blood relatives living on the other side of the world. Luckily, my sister is a new actress in the Chinese entertainment industry, so I was able to find information on her quickly. Once I confirmed her identity, I contacted her by email. Soren's jaw dropped. You didn't just fly to her side immediately? You emailed her? Don't tell me you still haven't told her who you are. Hot, Sylvia could only sweat nervously. That's right. She remembered the contents of their chats. Listening to her, Soren was moved to tears. Sylvia's eyes filled with killing intent. Did you know my mother died of an illness because she didn't have money for surgery? The matriarch of the ridiculously wealthy Mondwells family died because she was poor. Whatever his reasons were, they don't excuse him hiding their existence and abandoning them. I will never forgive him. Don't worry, my sweet girl. You won't have to suffer anymore. But it breaks my heart to know how they bullied you. I'll be by your side soon. I'll help you, and I'll show everyone that you are a queen they can only look up to. Miss, the cruise ship is ready. We will depart for China shortly. Meanwhile, the ex-boyfriend, He Jiantong, and the mistress, Huan Huan, were relaxing on a beach. Why are you still talking about her? She's not as cruel as you are. The mistress's tone was laced with jealousy. Hey, you're the one who made me this way. You were her best friend. Weren't you trying to seduce me from the very beginning? Hearing this, the mistress's voice turned sharp. Why should she get to be so high and mighty when we were all just as poor? The most beautiful girl in school? If it weren't for that face, she'd be nothing. That time someone tried to disfigure her. You even got hurt protecting her. I think you just can't let go of that pretty face. He Jiantong listened to Huan Huan's jealous rant, then kissed her forehead and began to explain. Huan Huan listened to his explanation, the air thick with jealousy, and tried to argue. He Jiantong continued to soothe her. Huan Huan finally understood. So that's how it all was. He Jiantong immediately shifted the blame, not admitting to anything he'd done. Huan Huan couldn't be bothered to press the issue. He Jiantong's face darkened. I was originally going to force a breakup with her, but someone else was more ruthless than me. From now on, you don't have to worry about someone who's already disappeared. Huan Huan understood the meaning behind his last sentence, and a cold sweat beaded on her forehead. At the same time, on Lover's Cliff, the real Ran looked at the endless ocean, tears welling in her eyes as she thought about her past. A sinister voice came from behind. Ran turned to see a mysterious figure in sunglasses. The figure walked toward her. He grabbed her hand and pushed her off the cliff. He said, "You should only blame yourself for seeing something you shouldn't have." As Ran fell, the face of a lecherous man flashed in her mind. The mysterious figure then ordered someone nearby, "Get rid of the surveillance footage." Meanwhile, Sylvia was looking out at the sea. Soren walked up beside her, his voice full of jealousy. "I saw that room, you know." He then led Sylvia to a room. The room was filled with thousands of glittering gemstone necklaces, all kinds of designer high heels, and stuffed animals taller than a person. Soren looked at all the things and muttered, calm down. She's just obsessed with her sister." Sylvia looked at the room with satisfaction, then got excited. "I didn't know what my sister would like, so I just got a little bit of everything." Soren's face twisted with jealousy at the sight of the sister-obsessed Sylvia. But she ignored the drama king beside her, clutching her locket and saying, "I'll see you soon." Just then, Soren's phone buzzed. A flood of entertainment news alerts came in, and a video showed the headline, "Actress with surname Zai falls from cliff in Bali. Search and rescue efforts have now been called off after 2 days." Sylvia's face filled with murderous rage. She turned to the phone, staring blankly at the video and mumbling her sister's name. The locket slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. Her last wall of defense crumbled and she screamed, "Tell me this isn't real!" Soren held the devastated Sylvia as lightning flashed and thunder roared outside. A short while later, at the base of Lover's Cliff in Bali, Sylvia stood on the shore in the pouring rain, staring at the raging waves. One by one, divers emerged from the water. Sylvia looked at them anxiously. "Did you find her?" They shook their heads. Sylvia's eyes turned to ice, and she yelled at the divers, "Go back in!" One of the divers replied, "I'm sorry, miss, we've searched this entire area." Sylvia didn't believe them. She took off her jacket and dove into the water. Soren, seeing that she didn't even have any diving gear, cried out in alarm. At that moment, a man in traditional Chinese clothing stood in the rain watching Sylvia dive. Another woman killing herself over love. How tragic. An assistant ran up to him. "Seventh Master, everything has been taken care of. The witness won't be talking." The Seventh Master nodded. "You can go back first. I'll be there shortly." In the ocean, Sylvia screamed her sister's name in her mind. "Where are you?" "Ran, I haven't even told you I'm your sister. You haven't even met me." As she thought this, her body, starved of oxygen, went limp. She fainted and began to sink. As Sylvia sank, Soren dove in and pulled her back to shore. He yelled at her, "That's enough! You're trying to kill yourself diving for that long without any gear. Get yourself together. Don't forget, they've ruled your sister's death a suicide." Hearing Saran's words, a fire reignited in Sylvia's eyes. Impossible. She was going to meet me. Why would she kill herself? Soren, seeing Sylvia's renewed determination, said, "Then go find the truth. Don't let her die with her name slandered." Sylvia's eyes were firm, her voice filled with deadly resolve. "You're right. I won't let anyone who hurt my sister get away with it." She threw her jacket over her shoulders and walked away. As she left, she saw two men walking toward her, and they passed each other. The Seventh Master looked at Sylvia's retreating figure. "It's her," he thought. He remembered what an old monk at a temple had once told him. Thinking of Sylvia's appearance just now, he was lost in thought. Meanwhile, a crowd of reporters was snapping photos of Juan Juan. One reporter asked her, "As Ziran's best friend, what are your thoughts on her scandal?" Juan Juan's expression immediately changed to one of sorrow. "Ziran has passed away. Please let her rest in peace." But a male reporter persisted. Did Ziran choose to end her life because she couldn't handle the scandal? Juan Juan squeezed out some fake tears, her voice growing more emotional until she broke down into sobs. Seeing how close the two sisters were, the reporters eased up a bit. They asked Juan Juan, since she lived with Ziran, how she hadn't noticed any signs of depression. Juan Juan wiped away her crocodile tears. Ziran was a gentle and kind girl. She always acted like nothing was wrong, no matter what she was going through, so we wouldn't worry. It seems Ran fell in love with someone she shouldn't have. The reporters, sensing a huge scoop, erupted into a frenzy of speculation. Juan Juan watched them guess among themselves, then added more fuel to the fire. From her words, the reporters began to get an idea of who it might be. A reporter with yellow hair seemed to guess it was the famous actor Bai. The group of reporters started chattering excitedly. They began to press Juan Juan, asking if it was him, but she simply remained silent. And a mysterious person was watching the news on a TV. As the reporters were gossiping with Juan Juan, a familiar voice cut through the crowd. Sylvia, dressed gorgeously, walked toward them. Juan Juan saw her, and her jaw dropped. See, Ran?" she stammered in horror. Sylvia walked up to Juan Juan and put an arm around her. "From the look on your face, you don't seem very happy to see me." Juan Juan forced a laugh, sweating nervously. "Ha ha, of course not. Ran, it's so great that you're okay." Sylvia hugged her tightly. "You're my best friend. How could I not know you?" She leaned in and whispered in her ear, "I'm back. Are you scared?" Juan Juan's eyes filled with terror. What does she mean by that? Does she know we were involved that night? Damn it, if she exposes us now, we're finished. What do I do? The reporters swarmed Sylvia with their microphones. "Ziran, was it really a suicide attempt? How did you survive?" Sylvia smiled faintly. "Of course not. I went to the cliff that night to watch the stars. I heard there was a meteor shower, and I wanted to make a wish. As for what wish, that's my little secret. But I didn't expect it to be so dark up there. The path was difficult, and it had rained earlier in the day. I slipped on a rock, and then the water was so cold. I couldn't see anything. Water filled my eyes, nose, and mouth. I couldn't breathe, and I quickly lost consciousness." Everyone was stunned by her story. Juan Juan stared at Sylvia, dumbfounded. Why didn't she expose Ah Kong? Does she still have feelings for him? Too bad, Ah Kong is mine. He wouldn't look at you even if you died right in front of him. Good thing I didn't lie just now. That idiot Ziran isn't giving herself any room to make a comeback. She didn't expose us herself this time, so it won't be easy for her to come after us. Sylvia's eyes narrowed slightly as she watched the smug look on Juan Juan's face. What an interesting expression. Just when you think you've escaped, the prey has already taken the bait. A reporter broke the silence. "Congratulations on your miraculous survival. But your best friend said you have a crush on the actor Bai. How do you explain that?" The reporters around them pressed Sylvia for an answer. Sylvia twirled a lock of hair. "It was just a joke. What's there to explain?" Seeing that there wasn't much of a story, the reporters started to fill in the blanks themselves. Sylvia, seeing that they were getting worked up, added, "Actor Bai is great, but he's not my type. I like things simple." Besides, I already have a boyfriend who loves me very much. Juan, you knew that. Why would you say I like actor bi? As she said the last sentence, Sylvia smirked inwardly. I might not be able to crush you all at once, you little pest, but I can at least collect some interest. Juan was stunned. I can't even stay out of it. This blame is coming out of nowhere. The reporters, sensing a new story, turned their attention to Juan. She started sweating, trying to explain. I saw you collecting actor bi's works, Ran. You would often watch them late into the night. I must have misunderstood. Sylvia put on a hurt expression. I can't believe you'd think that, Juan. My acting is so bad, I just wanted to learn from him. I didn't dare to bother him, so I could only study the roles he played over and over. The more I watched, the more I realized how incredible his acting is. I'd be lucky to learn a quarter of what he knows. At that moment, Saran, who had been watching the TV, swirled the red wine in his glass and looked at the kitten in his lap. She's as cunning as you are, he thought. The kitten meowed in response. Soren watched Sylvia's wicked smile on the screen. Her words say admiration, but her eyes are full of contempt. Looks like I've found a kindred spirit. The butler appeared behind him, bowing deeply. Your Highness, your private jet to return home is ready. Soren stroked the cat, a small smile on his lips. No need, I've decided to stay. Meanwhile, the reporters were snapping photos of Juan. Juan was in a daze. How did Ziran suddenly get so smart she didn't fall into the trap I dug for her? Now Akong's and my plan is going to fail. She thought back to a few days ago when she and Akong had been planning. With Ziran gone, her spot as a guest on the show would be hers, along with 3 or 4 new roles. They were minor supporting roles, but it was a start. She thought, I really thought I had succeeded. I've been getting more and more exposure these past few days, and I even landed the guest spot on Let's Go Traveling. Akong told me to strike while the iron was hot and create another big story. I was planning on riding actor Bai's coattails. Since Ziran was gone, I could say whatever I wanted. Who would have thought she wasn't dead? A reporter asked Sylvia, Ziran, why didn't you announce your survival sooner? Why are you here today? Sylvia smiled faintly. I'm an actress, so of course I'm here for work. Isn't today the press conference for Let's Go Traveling? I'm glad I made it in time. Juan's eyes widened in horror. The reporters, sensing another scoop, rushed toward her with their cameras and microphones. Sylvia ignored Juan and walked straight onto the stage, shaking the director's hand. Director, I'm Ziran. It's an honor to be invited to participate in your show. The director looked troubled. Ah, little Z, you were missing before, and our company had already negotiated with the show to replace you as a guest. Sylvia took a contract out of her bag and said seriously, I'm sure the show wouldn't breach a contract, right? The director looked at the contract in her hand and said nervously, Yes, of course. Since you're back, the guest spot is still yours. Juan, standing to the side, was shaking with rage. Ziran let out a wicked laugh, thinking, this is just the beginning. Everything you took from me, you're going to give it all back. A few hours later in a room, Juan was furiously punching a sofa, screaming, That bitch, Kong, that little bitch Ziran is so hateful. Not only is she not dead, she stole my spot on the show. Why is she always against me? Kong stroked his chin, analyzing the situation. Ziran not being dead is strange. The other party actually failed. Juan looked at him, terrified. When she suddenly showed up today, she scared me half to death. What if she tells everyone what happened that night? Kong's eyes turned cold and the air seemed to drop a few degrees. What are you panicking for? As soon as I let that person know she's still alive, do you think she'll be alive for much longer? Juan breathed a sigh of relief. You're right. Let her live a little longer. Kong grabbed Juan's hand and brought it to his lips. Don't talk about that buzzkill. Let me comfort you properly. A few hours later, Kong yawned contentedly. Are you going back to sleep? Juan straightened her clothes and turned to him affectionately. Yeah, someone's waiting for me at the apartment. Kong looked annoyed. I don't get it. I told you to move out, but you refused. Why do you insist on living with Ziran? Doesn't it drive you crazy? Juan shook her head, her eyes darkening. As long as she can't forget you, I'm going to be right in her face, a thorn in her side, a knife in her heart. She's the loser in love. She picked up her bag and stood up smugly. She made me miserable, so I'm going back with the marks he left on me. The way she pretends not to care is just pathetic. With that, she strutted out the door. A few hours later, Juan hummed a tune as she walked into her apartment, only to stop in shock. The landlord looked at her with disdain. Miss Yang, is it? Pack your things. You need to leave immediately. Juan was stunned. The landlord held up a contract. Miss C has decided to terminate the lease. I'm renting the apartment to someone else. Juan was furious. I'm a tenant too. I didn't agree to this. The landlord scoffed. Miss C paid the rent. You've been freeloading for long enough. The man who brought you home last time, wasn't that Miss C's boyfriend? How could you be so shameless? If I were her, I would have slapped that look right off your face. Juan, enraged by the landlord's words, slammed the door on her way out. Meanwhile, in a villa, Sylvia was waiting quietly for Soren, who was typing furiously on his computer. He finally said, I hacked into He Jiantong's phone and computer, but I didn't find any direct evidence that he murdered your sister. Sylvia wasn't surprised. It was what she had expected. Soren turned the laptop toward her. This is the hotel surveillance footage from that night. Sylvia saw her sister's figure in the footage and leaned in anxiously. Zoom in. I want to read her lips. From her sister's tearful expression, she could make out the name Ah Kong. Sylvia's face darkened. I knew it. My sister wouldn't have gone to Lover's Cliff alone for no reason. Where was He Jiantong? Who was he with that night? Soren looked at the monitor. I only have footage from outside the hotel. He Jiantong stayed in his room all night and Yang Huan went into his room and didn't leave. Sylvia thought, my sister died in the cold ocean, while that scumbag and his mistress were holed up in a hotel room all night. It seems my methods for dealing with them have been too light. Soren looked at her expectantly. Are you going to send them to the international criminals camp? Sylvia shook her head, analyzing the situation. If they die too easily, I won't be able to find out the truth about my sister's death. First, a diagnosis of viral depression, then a scandal breaks online, and finally, she can't take the pressure and jumps into the sea. It was a perfect setup against my sister. He Jiantong isn't capable of pulling this off so flawlessly. There must be someone else helping him. Who wants my sister dead? Meanwhile, Juan, carrying all her belongings, arrived at He Jiantong's place, looking disheveled. After she explained what had happened, he asked nonchalantly, You didn't get a call from Ziran? Juan was a ticking time bomb. The first thing I heard when I got back was the landlord telling me I was kicked out, and she even humiliated me. Ziran must have said something to her. Just then, the doorbell rang. As Juan was crying, He Jiantong went to answer the door and found a group of police officers outside. Juan panicked. No need to explain. We received a report that you are engaging in illegal transactions, a police officer said, looking at their disheveled appearances. No, that's not it. Juan quickly hid behind He Jiantong, pushing him forward. The officers didn't waste any time. They asked for their relationship and demanded to see their IDs. He Jiantong handed over his ID. The officer looked at it, then at Juan. Are you married? He Jiantong shook his head. The officer's tone became serious. Then she is your transaction partner. Juan, embarrassed, quickly clarified, I'm not. I'm his girlfriend. Suddenly, a horde of reporters appeared out of nowhere, snapping photos of the sensational story. He Jiantong and Juan stared at them in a panic. The next day, the two of them, sleepless, were surrounded by a suffocating atmosphere. Juan anxiously asked He Jiantong what to do. However, he was lost in his own worries. A ringing phone broke the silence. Juan, trembling, answered the call, only to be met with a harsh scolding. At the company, the news about He Jiantong and Yang Huan had already gone viral on Weibo and was a top trending topic. Their manager, Xu Chaoan, was so angry he was about to smash his desk. He yelled at Yang Huan over the phone. She was too scared to even breathe, just apologizing over and over. Xu Chaoan, tired of her excuses, told her to put He Jiantong on the phone. As soon as He Jiantong took the phone, he was met with a roar of anger. He could only apologize awkwardly and ask what to do next. He Jiantong said calmly, What if I said that Ziran and I broke up a long time ago, but we didn't announce it because she has depression? Xu Chaoan told him to release a statement immediately. At this point, public relations was more important than the trending topics. In schools across the country, students were glued to their phones, engrossed in the shocking news. One girl analyzed the situation. He Jiantong was still showing off his relationship on Weibo a month ago, but Ziran hasn't updated hers in a long time. Another girl gasped, Oh my god! Ziran cleared her Weibo and even changed her username. Looking at Ziran's latest post, the first girl said, She's making a clean break with the past. Another girl said angrily, He Jiantong is definitely lying. He cheated, and now he's blaming it on depression. Depression doesn't deserve to be dragged into this. I feel so bad for Ziran. Her boyfriend and her best friend got together. No wonder Yang Huan looked like she'd eaten crap when Ziran showed up at the press conference. She was probably wishing Ziran had died in the sea. The girl continued her analysis. It's possible Yang Huan was behind Ziran's fall from the cliff. Their affair was exposed, so they tried to get rid of her. That's how it always happens in novels. Her friend flicked her on the forehead. You need to read fewer novels. I'm going to repost this to support Ziran. I used to be a fan of her looks, but her acting was terrible. I hope she can focus on her acting now that she's away from that scumbag. Later, He Jiantong and Yang Huan walked into the company. Yang Huan looked exhausted. People around them started whispering. When they opened the door to Mr. Chow's office, they were met with his angry shouts. As they walked in, Sylvia was sitting there, her arms crossed, calmly stating, "The company arranged for me to be here, and I admire their courage. But I'm sorry. I refuse." Mr. Chow was so angry his face turned red and his blood pressure soared. Sylvia glanced at the two who had just entered. "Mr. Chow, you've made a mistake. They're the ones hurting the company's business, not me, the victim." Mr. Chow stuttered, then burst out, You, don't get too arrogant. The company can blacklist you, you know." Sylvia waved a dismissive hand. "Go ahead. I'm not that far from being blacklisted as it is." Mr. Chow turned his back to her, his face dark, his lip twitching. You, there was a perfume ad from overseas." But Sylvia was unmoved. Beside He Jiantong, Yang Huanhuan bit her nails in frustration. Seeing that Mr. Chow was losing face, Sylvia said casually, "Is it the perfume from that one brand?" Mr. Chow, thinking he could get the upper hand, said darkly, "Yes, it's a niche but high-end brand. It's too late for you to regret it now." Sylvia smiled. "Are you sure you want to give my ad to a substitute?" Mr. Chow pointed a finger at her, his voice rising. "What do you mean, your ad?" "The company makes its own arrangements. This is what you get for defying me," Sylvia said disdainfully. "I hope you don't regret this." As soon as she said that, the phone on the desk rang. Mr. Chow's expression went from stern to utterly humiliated as he answered the call. Beads of sweat formed on his forehead as he forced a smile. Oh, they specifically requested Xie Ran? Okay, I understand." After hanging up, he looked at Sylvia. "The ad is still yours, but I hope that in the future you'll consider the company before making such impulsive decisions." Sylvia turned to leave. "That depends on my mood." She then strutted out of the office. Yang Huanhuan watched her go, biting her nails in frustration. "Damn it! How is she so lucky? It's like she's got a cheat code." As Sylvia walked down the quiet hallway, she thought coldly, "That perfume ad was originally a gift for my sister. You want to pick up the scraps? Not a chance." Meanwhile, Mr. Chow told the other two what had happened. Sylvia had turned the tables on him, and public opinion was now on her side, which was very bad for them. "You two should lay low for a while. Wait for this to blow over." The two of them were filled with dread. "Is the company going to blacklist us?" At that moment, a plane landed. In a VIP terminal, a young woman and her manager walked through the airport, which was already buzzing with people. A passerby glanced at her and stopped. "Excuse me, are you Zhou Yunyi?" Zhou Yunyi took off her sunglasses and smiled warmly. "I was hoping to come back quietly, but I guess I've been discovered." The fan's eyes sparkled with adoration. "I love your work. Can I have a photo with you?" Zhou Yunyi put an arm around her. "Of course." The fan looked at the photo on her phone and thanked her excitedly. Soon, a crowd gathered around Zhou Yunyi. Among them were parents holding young children. Zhou Yunyi urged the crowd, "Please don't push the little ones." "Ma'am with the baby, could you please come forward? Everyone, please make a path for her." The fans immediately parted. The mother and child came forward, and Zhou Yunyi bent down to kiss the baby's forehead, offering a blessing. At that moment, a man, seeing the commotion at the airport entrance, happened to witness this scene. A system notification sounded in Zhou Yunyi's mind. Male god favorability increased by 10 points. Current favorability 80, level adoration. The man walked toward her and asked politely, "Miss Zhou, would I have the honor of having dinner with you?" The fans, seeing Lu Yufei, erupted into another frenzy of excitement. Zhou Yunyi politely declined. The system dinged again. Male god favorability increased by 1 point. Zhou Yunyi closed her eyes and entered her system space. A fox appeared and asked, "Host, you rejected him. Why did his favorability still go up?" Zhou Yunyi looked at the system panel and smiled. "That's where you're wrong. For men, the harder something is to get, the more precious it is. If I had agreed easily, his favorability would have dropped." The fox applauded enthusiastically. "I can't believe he was so attentive before, and his favorability was only at 70. Good thing I found out he was coming to the airport today and put on a little show for him. What's a better way to boost favorability with a love-starved puppy than by radiating motherly warmth? Host, you are brilliant. Lu Yufei's favorability is now at the adoration level, so it's unlikely to change. Maybe you should focus on the other 3 targets." Zhou Yunyi smirked. "I want Lu Yufei, and I want the others too." Meanwhile, Saran was still typing away. Looking at the screen, he said with a sigh, "The rumors about Ziran on the trending topics had nothing to do with them. I didn't find any relevant traces on He Jiantong's or Yang Huanhuan's phones or computers." Sylvia's eyes were cold. "I don't believe that trolls would stir up trouble for no reason. Someone must have benefited from my sister being slandered. We just need to find that person." Soren typed furiously again. "I found that the day before Ziran's scandal broke, the actress Song Shining was photographed on a late-night date with a minor celebrity. but there was very little discussion about it online, only one or two related news articles. Sylvia's eyes darkened and a wicked smile touched her lips. That's a much bigger story than Z-Ran's, and it didn't blow up? I don't believe for a second there wasn't some foul play involved. Sylvia, you're so smart you don't even leave me a chance to praise you. But I couldn't have found this without you, right, Hackerel? Soren waved it off. Actually, you could have found it yourself. Your hacking skills are just as good as mine. Sylvia scratched her head. Soren's tone turned serious. Songshining Studio bought the photos, but they were afraid they couldn't silence everyone, so they pushed Z-Ran to the top of the trending topics to divert public attention. Sylvia's cheerful expression vanished, replaced by a grim one. So my sister was her scapegoat? Soren, can you get the news about Songshining's late-night date back to the top? Soren grinned. You mean something this simple? At a certain entertainment company, Songshining saw that the news about her late-night date was #1 again. She trembled with rage, her shouts echoing through the office as she berated her assistant. Didn't we already suppress that story? The assistant was so scared she could barely speak. Songshining, not wanting to hear any excuses, threw her phone at the assistant's head and screamed, "Get out of my sight! I don't want to see you right now!" The assistant vanished in an instant. At Weibo's headquarters, dozens of tech staff were typing frantically, sweat and tears blurring their vision. But it was no use. They had to report to their director, "We can't take this topic down." The director's face paled. "We've tried everything. The back end has been tampered with. We tried to fix it, but all our attempts failed. We're being overridden. It seems we're up against a master." In a car on the highway outside the airport, a manager was looking at the trending topics on her phone and fawning over her client. Zhou Yunyi glanced at it, then saw the name Z-Ran was also trending and was surprised. Z-Ran isn't dead? The manager was confused. Zhou Yunyi quickly composed herself. I just heard a while ago that an actress had committed suicide, and I think her name was Z-Ran. The manager, hearing this, got excited and started recounting all of Z-Ran's recent scandals. Zhou Yunyi's face darkened. She asked her system, "Why didn't you tell me Z-Ran was alive?" The system appeared, confused. "Z-Ran is just a list actress. Why are you so concerned about her host?" "I just don't like her. Is that so petty and selfish? Do you think I'm a bad person now? Do you not like me anymore?" The system almost burst out laughing at her melodramatic performance. "You said the same thing to Liu Yufei, didn't you? 10 days ago, Zhou Yunyi had taken a sip of coffee and mumbled, 'Do you think I'm a bad person now? Do you not like me anymore?' Liu Yufei had looked at her adoringly. "Of course not. In my heart, no one is cuter than you. Anyone you don't like must not be a good person." Zhou Yunyi had looked down, her expression hurt. "It's not that. I just heard some rumors about Z-Ran." Liu Yufei had said dismissively, "Don't worry, I won't let her bother you again." Hearing his words, Zhou Yunyi had looked up, her face flushed. Liu Yufei was completely captivated. A system notification popped up. Male god favorability increased by 5 points. Current favorability 70. The system, recalling this, was still in disbelief. Your perfect goddess image crumbled in front of Liu Yufei, but his favorability went up instead of down. I really don't get it. Zhou Yunyi looked at the naive system. That's why you're just a system. Human emotions are complicated. A goddess to the public, but she only shows her imperfect side to him. Doesn't that just prove how special he is? The system was stunned for a moment, then applauded her performance. If only I were a conquer the male god system. Unfortunately, I'm an actress development system. Host, don't forget your goal is to become a top actress. Zhou Yunyi then told the system that conquering male gods would earn her extra points, which she needed to exchange for items. The system informed her, Liu Yufei's favorability has reached 80. Reward 5,000 points. You now have 20,000 points. What would you like to exchange them for? Zhou Yunyi spread her hands and a blue screen appeared, displaying various items. She thought for a moment, then said, I want to redeem flawless skin. A strange sensation spread from her legs throughout her body. She slowly opened her eyes. Her manager looked at her, her eyes widening in amazement. My God, I can't even see a single pore. If I weren't right here with you, I'd think you just turned on a beauty filter. Looking at her own flawless skin, Zhou Yunyi blushed slightly, but felt a sense of defiance. The system crossed its arms smugly. Of course, system products are always top quality. Zhou Yunyi wondered, is this item permanent? Yes, unless you fail a mission. As a punishment, the item might be repossessed. Zhou Yunyi froze. So you need to work hard on your missions and become a top actress as soon as possible. Hearing this, her face darkened. I will not be as pathetic as I was in my past life. In this life, I will trample everyone under my feet, become a top actress, and gain both fame and fortune. Anyone who stands in my way will be eliminated. And Z-Ran is the biggest obstacle. If it weren't for her, I would have almost forgotten the nightmare of my past life. Back then, I had just joined the company and was immediately targeted by a rich backer because of my looks. He gave me money, a mansion, and even resources, taking me to all sorts of high-end places. I enjoyed the envious gazes of my peers, but he quickly grew tired of me and passed me on to his friends. I didn't refuse because my appetite for luxury had grown. I was passed from one man to another, trading my youth and beauty for everything I wanted. But one day, my dream was shattered. The company hired a newcomer named Z Ran. She graduated from the same school as you, but she wasn't as smart. After 2 years in the company, she was still probably living in the same apartment. At the time, I had laughed at her. I thought that was how my life would be until I received devastating news. A medical report shattered my illusions. My current backer had been infected with the same disease by me. He sent people to destroy the face I was so proud of. To pay for my treatment, I spent all my money, sold my jewelry and mansion, and ended up in massive debt. I was cast into the dust. Until that cold night, as I was huddled in a corner, they appeared. The kind-hearted Ziran gave me 100 yuan. But the person next to her looked so familiar. That was the only time we met Ziran. Later, I found out that the person with her was Huo Qiye, the seventh master Huo, who controlled half of the entertainment industry. And Ziran, who had become a top actress, was at the peak of her fame. Until one day, as I sat in a corner drinking, the TV on the street showed Ziran and her boyfriend having a lavish wedding. A cry of injustice rose from my heart. Why was my life so tarnished? Why was I in hell while you were in heaven, smiling so beautifully? If there is a next life, I will drag you down to hell with me. In that small, dirty, rented room, I ended my miserable life, only to find that it was just the beginning. I was reborn and with a cheat system. Not only did I go back in time, but I also got a magical system that gave me a chance to change my life. Now I am the goddess Zhou Yunyi. Let that unbearable past be buried deep in my heart. This is my biggest secret, one I haven't even told the system. As she finished her reminiscence, Zhou Yunyi arrived at her hotel. Reporters crowded around her, asking questions. She just smiled and calmly answered their probing inquiries. In your recently wrapped film, you played a female bus driver, for which you gained 10 pounds and got a tan. Was this an attempt to change your image? Zhou Yunyi answered seriously. As an actress, any effort is worth it. I hope the big screen remembers my characters, not my face. But we can't see any signs of a tan on your face. Your skin is still so perfect. Can you share your skincare secrets with us? Hearing the compliment, Zhou Yunyi covered her mouth to hide a smile and started spouting nonsense. Before the reporters could ask any more questions, her manager stepped in. Our Yunyi has just returned from overseas and is very tired. Please be considerate. Zhou Yunyi bowed to her fans and then went into the hotel. In the elevator, the manager, looking confused, asked, You said you wanted to surpass yourself. Do you have a goal in mind? Zhou Yunyi's voice was firm. Contact Mr. Lei for me. The manager was shocked to hear the name Mr. Lei, but Zhou Yunyi looked at her confused manager and explained, Mr. Lei has spent 10 years writing a script and is now in the process of casting. The manager couldn't contain her excitement. Mr. Lei's new film? The entire entertainment industry will be shaken. Are you aiming for the female lead? Yes, I want that role. The manager happily agreed. But Zhou Yunyi was thinking, Mr. Lei hasn't announced anything because he's secretly casting, and the female lead he has in mind is Ziran. In my past life, it was this role that launched Ziran to stardom. Now that I've been reborn, if you behave, I'll leave you alone. But if you're foolish enough to compete with me for this role, I'll make your life more miserable than mine was. Mr. Lei doesn't like actors with scandals. Seeing Ziran's recent news, he's probably already changed his mind about casting her. I need to seize this opportunity and crush her completely. While the cheater was plotting against Ziran, Soran was typing away, bringing up the details of Ziran's scandal. He told Sylvia, I've traced the source of Ziran's scandal. It's a troll farm studio. They control several marketing accounts with large followings. It was these accounts that first broke the news, which was then pushed to the top of the trending topics by Song Shining. Sylvia asked, Who hired the trolls to create the scandal? It was Liu Yufei, the young master of Huixing Entertainment. Sylvia thought, Does this person have a grudge against my sister? He has no known conflict with Shiran. Why would he suddenly target her? Was it on a whim? Check which celebrity Liu Yufei is a fan of or who he's pursuing. Soren did some more digging. Liu Yufei is currently pursuing the actress Zhou Yunyi. Recently, her attitude seems to have softened. Ziran's scandal also broke after one of their meetings. Do you think Zhou Yunyi was behind it? Sylvia considered this. Even if it's a coincidence, we can't ignore any lead. Look into this Zhou Yunyi. Zhou Yunyi has had 0 scandals since her debut. She has a good reputation, a perfect image, and is known as the nation's goddess. He then smirked. But privately, She's been involved with Liu Yufei of Huixing Entertainment, Guan Yao, the CEO of Shengxi Group, the senior screenwriter Han Qing, and Chu Kei. Sylvia's eyes lit up with amusement. Seeing 4 men at the same time? I wonder what would happen if we let Liu Yufei know about this. Soren did some more typing and brought up Zhou Yunyi's manager's phone records. She's been actively contacting Mr. Lei recently. Sylvia was surprised to hear the name Mr. Lei, the Mr. Lei who has been silent for 10 years and has directed several award-winning films. If it's really him making a comeback, this could be interesting. The key to this might be Mr. Lei. It seems it's time for me to make a move. Soren, looking at Sylvia by the window, asked, "What should we do about Liu Yufei?" Post his chat logs with the troll farm online, using those same marketing accounts. Also, post a copy on Huixing Entertainment's official Weibo. After all, this is something their young master did. Soren gave Sylvia a thumbs up. At Huixing Entertainment, Liu Yufei was walking through the company. People were whispering, "Have you seen Weibo?" The news about Mr. Liu hiring a troll farm has been exposed, and by the marketing accounts themselves. What do you think is going on? Did they have a disagreement over payment and now the trolls are getting revenge? Mr. Liu has brought shame to our company's Weibo page. We're being attacked by so many people. His recklessness has dragged our whole company down. Liu Yufei, unaware of what was happening, walked into his father's office and saw him fuming. "Do you have any idea what you've done? You've caused Huixing Group's stock to drop by 5%. Liu Yufei's face fell. His father, getting angrier by the second, slammed his hand on the desk. "I don't care if you're targeting some minor celebrity, but you shouldn't have been caught and had it exposed online." Liu Yufei, shocked, made a call. "Is this the Xinyu studio? You've got some nerve. You took my money and then exposed me? Don't you want to work in this industry anymore?" A trembling voice came from the other end. "I'm sorry, Mr. Liu. Our Weibo accounts were hacked. The person who hacked them posted the chat logs." Liu Yufei ordered, "I don't care. Release a statement immediately saying that someone impersonated me in those chats." Just then, someone burst into the room. "Bad news, Chairman. Our official Weibo has also posted the chat logs. The stock has hit its limit down." Meanwhile, Soren, looking at Weibo, told Sylvia, "Your decision has caused an earthquake on Weibo. The troll farm's self-exposure has everyone in a panic, afraid that their own troll hiring activities will be exposed. Those marketing accounts are finished. No one will dare to work with them again." Sylvia's face was grim. "They deserve it. I've been sick of those marketing accounts for a long time, always taking money to slander people and stir up trouble. I'm doing a public service." Soren nodded at the righteous Sylvia. The culture of hiring trolls in the entertainment industry needs to be dealt with. A notification popped up on his computer. Song shining is also on the trending topics. Sylvia looked at the content on Weibo. "Sister, you can't see this anymore. But don't worry, I won't let anyone who hurt you get away with it." A few days later, in a dance studio at the company, Sylvia was dancing gracefully, looking light and happy. Her manager, Sister Chung, watched from the doorway, amazed. "How has Ranran improved so quickly lately? The dance instructor told me he has nothing left to teach her. I thought he was joking." Sylvia wiped the sweat from her forehead. "Sister Chung, I was thinking about things the wrong way before. I almost lost sight of my dreams." Sister Chung's eyes softened. "I'm just glad you've pulled yourself together. That scumbag isn't worth your grief. By the way, the SFL ad shoot has been scheduled. It's in Baghdad. I've booked you a flight for the day after tomorrow." She then looked worried. "But they've specified that you must go alone. Apparently, the owner of the castle where the shoot is taking place is eccentric and wants you to spend the night there alone." Sylvia just calmly smoothed her hair. 2 days passed in a flash. At the bustling airport, Zhou Yunyi and her second suitor, Guan Yao, were walking through the terminal. The system in her mind waved its little paws frantically. "Host, stop trying to charm men. Liu Yufei is in trouble." Zhou Yunyi turned, her expression disdainful. "What's wrong with him now? Did the idiot get betrayed by the trolls he hired? Liu Yufei would cry if he knew you thought so little of him. He's still a trending topic because of you." Zhou Yunyi's face darkened, and she looked almost sinister. "What does that have to do with me? I just said I didn't like Ziran. I never told him to do anything. He did it on his own." "You look terrifying right now. But Liu Yufei is in a bad spot. He was impeached from his position as general manager of Huixing Entertainment by the board, and his father has restricted his credit cards, afraid he'll hire more trolls. This is the perfect time to boost your favorability." Zhou Yunyi smiled. "No rush. When he's at his lowest, hitting rock bottom and with no one to turn to, I'll appear before him. Like a drowning man grasping at a final straw, I'll be able to max out his favorability in one go." Guan Yao beside her asked, "What are you thinking about?" Zhou Yunyi's expression immediately shifted to one of pitiful innocence. "Weibo has been very lively these past few days. Liu Yufei from Huixing Entertainment was betrayed by a studio. Guan Yao, hearing her mention another man's name, looked annoyed. What an idiot! But I don't want to hear another man's name from your lips. Zhu Yunyi made a playful face. A jealous Mr. Guan is also very cute. Guan Yao blushed at her teasing. Zhou Yunyi was ecstatic. She closed her eyes and saw the system notification. Male god favorability increased by 3 points. Current favorability 70. But when she opened her eyes again, they widened in shock. She saw Ziran in the distance and gritted her teeth. Ziran, I'm not the street beggar I was in my past life. Now, you're the one who should be looking up to me. She then walked toward Ziran with a confident strut. She wore a sly smile and intended to greet her. But Sylvia simply ignored the strange woman and walked past. Zhou Yunyi's face darkened. Why? Even after I've been reborn, even when I'm the nation's goddess and you're a list actress, you still look down on me. Guan Yao, seeing Zhou Yunyi being snubbed, asked, What's wrong? Is that someone you know? Zhou Yunyi's expression immediately became pitiful. I helped her on set once. I thought she would say hello to me. Her second suitor, Guan Yao, was immediately indignant. You met someone like that? And you're still defending her? You're too kind. Some people need to be taught a lesson. Find out who that woman is and what she's doing at the airport. A few minutes later, his assistant reported, Her name is Ziran. She's a list celebrity and she's flying to Baghdad this afternoon on a plane owned by your airline. Guan Yao's face darkened and a cruel smile formed on his lips. He had an idea. At the baggage check-in, an employee was sweating nervously. I'm sorry, there's a problem with your ticket. I can't check you in. All the seats are currently sold out, so we can't issue you a new ticket. Since this was a system error, we are willing to offer a full refund. There should be other flights to Baghdad, right? There's only one flight to Baghdad per week. You'll have to wait until next week. Sylvia thought, so if I miss this flight, I'll definitely be late for the ad shoot. Guan Yao, watching from a distance, smirked. Just a little lesson for you. The system panicked. Guan Yao actually canceled Ziran's ticket for you? The flight to Baghdad only runs once a week. I almost feel sorry for her, being your enemy. Zhou Yunyi smiled wickedly. This is the power of influence. See? Just a little trick and she's helpless. But Sylvia calmly took out her phone and tapped a few keys. On a distant island, a man's phone buzzed with a new email. He looked at it and shouted in excitement, It's from the Reaper! I've been begging her for so long and she never agreed. Soon after, a line of elegant flight attendants walked through the airport and approached Sylvia. Miss C, please come this way. Mr. Chen has prepared a private jet for you. Zhou Yunyi was stunned. What's going on? Someone arranged a private jet for Ziran? I don't believe it. She must be putting on a show. I have to see this for myself. Meanwhile, Sylvia calmly boarded the plane. An old man bowed respectfully to her. Guan Yao was also dumbfounded. Clayton Chen Qiming? He sent his private jet for this minor celebrity? Zhou Yunyi gritted her teeth. It must be 7th Master Huo. Who else but him would have the power to make the richest man in a country bow down? Damn it, that's 7th Master Huo. A man whose every move can shake the nation. A man as intoxicating as a poppy. If he would just look at me once, what would Liu Yufei and Guan Yao even matter? As Zhou Yunyi was lost in her fantasy, the plane arrived in Baghdad. Sylvia stepped off the plane with style. A well-dressed young man was waiting for her on the tarmac. Miss C, hello, I am Byrne and I will be your host. Please follow me to Seti Castle. Sylvia didn't hesitate and got into the car. Byrne pointed to the bottles on the table. His Highness has prepared these for you. Please enjoy. Sylvia was surprised to hear the title His Highness. His Highness is the master of Seti Castle. You will meet him shortly. Sylvia looked at a bottle of yellow liquid. 35 Narcissus? Only 10 bottles of this were ever made. My father has one in his collection. She opened the bottle, poured a glass, and smiled. Interesting? Looking out at the blue sky and the endless desert, she arrived in a magical land. Under the golden sky, in a bustling street, at the top of a castle. You wouldn't even let me borrow Seti Castle to film before, and now you're offering it up and even replacing the male lead with yourself. Don't you ever shoot commercials? The man across from her smiled. His gaze was fixed on the black car below. It's time to welcome our guest. The man beside him looked jealous. I don't know what kind of person you're so excited to meet. I hear she's a newcomer. If her acting is terrible, I won't be holding back. Meanwhile, Sylvia got out of the car and took a deep breath. Castle surrounded by a sea of flowers appeared before her. Peacocks roamed the gardens, and the architecture was magnificent. Byrne led Sylvia to a room. She saw the male lead from the script, who was looking at the female lead with adoration. He then walked over to Sylvia and kissed her hand. Sylvia was speechless. You're the owner of the castle, Fro, and the other actor in the commercial? And your male lead. Sylvia wiped the hand he had kissed with a look of disgust. Another man approached. I am the director, Norden. Sylvia looked at him. Nordine is a young director on par with Mr. Lay. How did SFL manage to hire him? And this palace and this mysterious man named Fro? This seems a bit much for a commercial. The director interrupted her thoughts. Have you seen the script? Sylvia was confused. I never received a script. Norden's forehead beaded with sweat. Fro interjected. In that case, it's my fault. I thought that improvising would lead to a more interesting result. He looked at Sylvia slyly. Miss C, you're confident in your acting, aren't you? Sylvia smirked. Is that a challenge? I accept. Let's find out. A few hours later, under a sky full of glittering stars, the crew was busy at work. Sylvia, in a gorgeous costume, touched her head. This wig is so heavy. She stepped forward, and a strange gust of wind lifted her heavy wig. It was Fro arriving on a flying carpet. He looked at her costume and said slyly, It fits you just as I imagined. Sylvia looked at the jewels she was wearing. These jewels, every single one of them, has been sold at auction for a fortune. Fro smiled. To be able to recognize them so easily, are you really just a minor actress? But even the most beautiful jewels can't compare to the stars in your eyes. Sylvia was taken aback by the pile of diamonds he presented. He leaned in and whispered in her ear, After the shoot, these are all yours. Sylvia recoiled. No, thank you. I prefer to buy my own things. Fro looked hurt. You've wounded my heart. You must compensate me. He then swept her into his arms, and the carpet began to rise. But Sylvia wasn't falling for it. She pushed him away and gracefully leaped to the other side of the carpet. You're the one who needs to be careful. She aimed a strike at him. Fro grinned. Interesting. Let me see what you've got. The two of them sparred back and forth on the flying carpet. Norden, below, was looking at the script, wondering how to best shoot the scene. The sound of fighting from above distracted him. He looked up and shouted in disbelief, My God, what am I seeing? The prince and princess from my script are fighting. He then roared, Get down here, both of you. They stopped fighting, but Sylvia slyly tripped him. Fro, seeing this, caught her as she was about to fall. Don't move unless you want us both to fall. Nordin, below, was speechless, a mouthful of dog food in his mouth. The carpet slowly descended. Fro smirked. Ladies first. The commercial was for a limited edition perfume, a collaboration between SFL and an amusement park, called 1001 Nights, inspired by the Arabian myth of Aladdin. The theme of this solid perfume is mysterious, brilliant, and captivating. The bottle is shaped like a magic lamp, and the perfume itself looks like a diamond. What's more, each perfume has a different floral scent, giving you a new experience every day, symbolizing 1001 nights with you. Our commercial needs to capture that same mysterious, brilliant, and captivating feeling. A beautiful princess and a handsome prince ride a flying carpet across the deep blue night sky, over silvery sand dunes, toward a brilliant galaxy. The magic lamp in the princess's hand tilts slightly. The perfume that spills out carries an enchanting fragrance. It scatters and turns into starlight. Do you understand what I'm trying to convey? The two of them nodded vigorously. Under the starry sky, Sylvia and Fro held each other close. Norden below shouted through a megaphone, More passion in your eyes, I want to see fire. Fro pulled Sylvia closer, and she looked at him with an affectionate gaze. Norden shouted excitedly, Yes, that's the feeling. Sylvia whispered in Fro's ear. Just pouring water out of a bottle seems a bit silly. How about we try a different approach? Just don't move. Before Fro could react, Sylvia had already pushed him down. You can imagine the rest. The crew, who had watched the whole thing, applauded with tears in their eyes. Perfect, that's a wrap. Sylvia shook her head, confused. You spilled real diamonds? Aren't the stars on the ground also diamonds? Fro smiled. Yes. As long as you like it, we can spill as many as you want. The third wheel, Norden, popped up between them. This guy's country is rich in diamonds. He said that for the sake of the shoot, he replaced the perfume with diamonds. Sylvia was speechless. So he's a rich idiot. I have a feeling this perfume is going to sell out. Miss C, since you're here, would you do me the honor of letting this third wheel show you the sights of Seti Castle? Nordin, the master wingman, continued, Don't let the name Castle fool you. It's practically a small town, and the entire desert belongs to this guy. And this is just one of his family's many castles. It makes you so jealous. Sylvia sighed. The pleasure is all mine. As the two of them walked away, the crew and Norden were already shipping them. Elsewhere in the castle, Fro and Sylvia were sitting at the highest point. Fro began to explain the castle's unique features. Sylvia looked around. To the east was a beautiful display of lights. To the west was an endless desert. To the south was a sea of flowers. To the north was a clear lake with several white swans. Sylvia stood up in amazement. It's beautiful. She then turned confused. Why is it called Seti Castle? Seti was my mother's name. It's a family tradition to build castles around the world and name them after the lady of the house. The next morning, a car drove across the golden desert to the airport. Byrne got out and said respectfully, "Have a safe trip, Miss C." Sylvia replied politely. A little while later, her phone rang. Sylvia answered with a special earpiece. A middle-aged man's voice came through. "Reaper, are you still in Baghdad? I'm on my way back to China. I have a mission for you. Interpol has intercepted a message that Black Hawk will be selling a shipment of goods to a wealthy businessman soon. I need you to stop the transaction. Interpol will assist you." Sylvia smiled. "No need. I'll let them clean up after I'm done. Just send me the specific time, location, and contact person." 2 days later, next to a simple building, a group of Special Forces soldiers stood in a courtyard. Among them, a dark-skinned foreigner stood out. He looked at a group of men in black sunglasses in the distance. Among them was the long-unseen 7th Master Huo. The foreigner ran up to him excitedly. "You're finally here, the goods are ready." 7th Master Huo's eyes were cold, devoid of emotion. "Is this place secure?" The foreigner grinned smugly. "Absolutely. A 500-meter perimeter has been cleared, and my men are standing guard. Don't worry, not even a mosquito can get in." The two of them went into a secret room and looked at rows of exquisite toys and supplies. At that moment, on the second floor, 2 Special Forces soldiers were about to light up a cigarette. Before they could, they were already on the ground, unconscious. Sylvia dropped down from somewhere above and looked at the unconscious soldiers, smirking. "This tranquilizer dart will keep you asleep for an hour." She then stood on another rooftop, looking at her destination. She put on her gloves, took out a grappling hook, and silently fired it to the other side. With her expert skills, she slid across to the other rooftop and erased her tracks. Seeing the Special Forces soldiers below, she broke into a run. She leapt into the air. With 2 soft thumps, she landed gracefully. She looked at the unconscious soldiers on the ground and smirked. She then looked down at the soldiers below her target. She opened a sophisticated case containing various parts. She skillfully assembled them into an AWM sniper rifle. She then set up the rifle and aimed it at the house in the distance. Inside, the foreigner smiled. "The cargo is fine, let's make the exchange." 7th Master Huo didn't speak but gestured to his men. Just as he gave the order, Sylvia, in the distance, also had her sights on the room with the toys. A silent bullet flew through the air. Boom! The room exploded in a ball of fire. The Special Forces soldiers below were stunned. The bodyguards inside shielded 7th Master Huo, who was staring at the empty rooftop. Elsewhere, Sylvia had already dismantled the AWM, packed it back into her case, and made her escape. The foreigner, looking at the fire in the room that had held the toys, gritted his teeth in a rage. "Lock down this area! Don't let a single person escape!" On a nearby street, a panicked crowd was running in all directions as Special Forces soldiers fired indiscriminately. Sylvia, now in civilian clothes, blended into the crowd. The local police arrived and started a firefight with the soldiers. Explosions rocked the buildings, and the street descended into chaos. A black car drove out of the pandemonium. 7th Master Huo, inside the car, looked out the window and froze. He saw Sylvia in the panicked crowd. He ordered the driver to stop. The car stopped in front of Sylvia, and the door opened. She was stunned. 7th Master Huo's tone was an order. "Get in! Don't make me say it again!" As soon as Sylvia was in the car, the driver sped away. Inside, Sylvia looked at 7th Master Huo, bewildered. "Isn't that the retired actor Huo Chenyu? Does Ranran know him? She never mentioned him. How should I act around him?" 7th Master Huo, beside her, glanced at her, also surprised. "Why did I just call out to her? I've only seen her once." Sylvia broke the silence, but he spoke first. "What's your name?" Sylvia was momentarily at a loss for words. Before she could answer, the driver slammed on the brakes, sending the car into a drift. Did I hear that right? Is the 7th Master hitting on someone? The 7th Master, who's been single for 30 years. But his pickup line is so lame, the driver thought. Just then, the driver's eyes widened. The 7th Master had pulled the petite Sylvia into an embrace. Sylvia, in his arms, was confused. She apologized and tried to get up, but he held her hand. "Your hair is caught on my button." Sylvia saw a few strands of her hair tangled in his button. She said casually, "Just pull it out." He gently touched her hair. A girl's hair is a precious thing. He then carefully untangled her hair from the button. After he freed her, Sylvia smoothed her hair and thanked him. She then thought, "I thought he was a cold person, but he's being overly nice to a stranger. It's a good thing he's not someone Ranran knows. A retired top actor appearing in a chaotic place like Baghdad is suspicious. I should get away from him as soon as possible." "Right, I heard he hates being bothered." With a plan in mind, she put on a look of adoration. "I just realized you're the famous actor Huo. Thank you so much for your help. My name is Z Ran. I'm a junior in the industry. Could you please give me your autograph? I can't believe I'm seeing you here." Huo Chenyu looked awkward. "I don't sign autographs." Sylvia looked heartbroken. Oh, you really can't? I admire you so much. I followed in your footsteps and entered the entertainment industry. He glanced at her dramatic performance. Where should I sign? Sylvia was stunned but awkwardly held out her left hand. He carefully wrote on her hand. As she looked at the signature, he said, "It's dangerous here. You should take my plane back home." She looked at the signature on her hand. "Your plane is even more dangerous. If you hadn't forced me into the car, I'd be at the airport by now." An officer stopped the car. "Mr. Huo, General Alec invites you to his residence." He told Sylvia, "Wait for me." He then got out of the car. Sylvia watched him leave and sighed. He's finally gone. She told the driver, "Sir, I don't know when Mr. Huo will be back and I have urgent business back home, so I'll be going now." Before the driver could react, she had slipped out of the car. The driver, when he finally came to his senses, shouted, "Wait!" He watched her disappear into the distance on the verge of tears. In a car behind them, a blue-haired bodyguard thought, "That woman is still alive. Who was that woman who just left? What's her relationship with the seventh master? Third brother, you need to be smart about this. Don't offend her. The seventh master has never treated a woman this specially. I think we might have a new mistress soon." Hearing this, the third brother was shocked. He remembered what had happened that night and decided he couldn't let her tell the seventh master. He composed himself and asked, "Then why did she leave without waiting for him?" The driver was still distraught. "She said she had urgent business back home. I couldn't stop her. I don't know how I'm going to explain this to the seventh master when he gets back." The blue-haired bodyguard thought, "You had a path to heaven, but you chose to walk into hell. Leave your life here." Meanwhile, Sylvia had boarded her flight back home. A flight attendant politely asked her a question. She smiled, handed over her carry-on, and thanked her. As a male flight attendant put her luggage in the overhead bin, she was surprised to see a scar on his arm. She watched him walk away deep in thought. The plane took off. Sylvia gazed out at the sky. The same male flight attendant walked toward her. Sylvia looked up and said coldly, "I don't need any service." He pulled a gun from his jacket and pressed it to her head. The people around them, seeing this, were about to panic. Sylvia calmly touched the gun, her voice innocent. "Is this some kind of special entertainment?" The yellow-haired man shoved her hand away, his expression menacing. "Move again and I'll kill you." The passengers, hearing his words and seeing the gun, erupted into chaos. The man ignored them and pointed at Sylvia. "Get up!" Sylvia was speechless. The passengers started whispering. Another man stood up, pulled out a gun, and pointed it at the passengers, roaring, "Nobody move! Nobody scream!" The passengers, who had never seen anything like this, were terrified into silence. The yellow-haired man, pleased with himself, ordered Sylvia to walk to the back. 2 guns were now pointed at her head. A strange smile played on Sylvia's lips. "Do I look like an easy target? If I weren't afraid of exposing my identity, I wouldn't want the headline, 'Zran fights off hijackers' to be all over the news." Flight attendants, seeing this, hid in a corner, wondering what was happening. Meanwhile, the driver saw the seventh master return and rushed to open the car door. The seventh master looked at the empty back seat, his eyes cold. "Where is she?" The driver trembled. "Seventh master, I couldn't keep an eye on Miss C. She went back home on her own." The blue-haired bodyguard, watching this, smirked. "It seems this woman's influence on the seventh master is even greater than I thought. Good thing I sent someone to get rid of her." On the plane, the 2 men remembered the blue-haired bodyguard's words. "I need you to eliminate someone on flight XX under the guise of a hijacking. Find an opportunity to do it. When it's done, I'll set you up with a new life in Brazil." As they were thinking, the plane suddenly shook. The intercom came on. "We are experiencing some turbulence. Please return to your seats and fasten your seatbelts. Do not panic." They exchanged a look. "Now!" The yellow-haired man made his move, but in a flash he was slapped across the face. Stunned. How did that shot miss? The plane lurched again, and Sylvia, losing her balance, fell forward, grabbing onto the man in front of her. He, in turn, lost his grip and his gun went off, hitting the yellow-haired man in the chest. Sylvia's eyes held a look of someone who had seen it all coming. The yellow-haired man saw that his partner had been shot. He threw all caution to the wind and raised his gun to fire back. The plane lurched again, and Sylvia, using the momentum, shoved the man in her arms. The bullet that should have been dodged hit him instead. The yellow-haired man saw his partner go down. Sylvia just smiled. He froze, remembering when she had touched his gun. Then he coughed up a mouthful of blood. It was her! She did something to it! He then joined his partner in the afterlife. The passengers stared, dumbfounded, at the dead hijackers. Flight attendant helped Sylvia up. "Are you okay?" Sylvia, with tears in her eyes, looked like she was too scared to stand. The other passengers were also in tears. One passenger asked, confused, "But why did they kill each other?" They all started discussing how 2 hijackers had ended up in a gunfight with each other. The flight attendant helped Sylvia back to her seat. Two passengers whispered, "She's probably going to be traumatized for life." But Sylvia wasn't traumatized. She was smiling. A breaking news story interrupted the TV broadcast. A hijacking occurred on Flight XX from Baghdad to Beijing. Two hijackers took a hostage and were then killed in a gunfight. All passengers and crew were rescued safely. An assistant whispered in Guan Yao's ear, "Mr. Guan, our plane was hijacked." Luckily, the hijackers mysteriously died, and there were no casualties. But a hostage was frightened. And for the sake of our airline's reputation, you need to personally comfort her. Guan Yao asked impatiently, "Who is this hostage?" "Her name is Ziran. I believe she's an actress." Hearing the name Ziran, both Guan Yao and Zhou Yunyi, who was with him, were surprised. Guan Yao's face darkened. "Ziran, what a coincidence." Zhou Yunyi, putting on her best acting performance, feigned concern. "Yes, she's been in so much trouble lately, always a trending topic. I think she has a variety show starting soon. I hope the hijacking doesn't affect her performance." The system, seeing through her act, thought, "Host, are you implying that Ziran orchestrated this for publicity?" But will Guan Yao be so easily swayed? Guan Yao, hearing Zhou Yunyi's concern, smiled. "You're too naive. Out of all the passengers on that plane, she was the one taken hostage, and she came out unscathed. I don't believe in such coincidences. It's more likely she staged the whole thing." The system burst out laughing at Guan Yao's logic. Zhou Yunyi, however, feigned innocence. How could that be? People in the entertainment industry will do anything to get famous. You just stay as pure and kind as you are. I want to protect that innocence. Guan Yao's words made Zhou Yunyi blush. The system notification popped up. Male god favorability increased by 2 points. Current favorability 80 level adoration. Host, you're amazing. Guan Yao is completely devoted to you now. As a CEO, Guan Yao has seen all sorts of deception in the business world. He's most susceptible to a pure and innocent persona. Winning him over was easy. "Brother Guan, I actually think you should thank Ziran. If it weren't for her, the other passengers might have been in danger." Hearing this, Guan Yao clenched his fists. "I'm going to thank her, all right? Staging a publicity stunt on my airline, fun as you wish." He then told his assistant, "Prepare a press conference immediately to report on the hijacking. Invite Ziran to attend." Zhou Yunyi, seeing her plan succeed, couldn't help but smile. A few hours later, the press conference was underway. Guan Yao glanced at Sylvia, who was sitting at the very end, and then began his speech. "I'll skip the boring parts." A reporter asked, "Mr. Guan, we heard that the hijackers took a hostage on the plane. Is the hostage safe now? Why don't we have the person involved answer that herself?" Miss C ran. The reporters around Sylvia gasped. "She's the hostage!" A staff member handed Sylvia a microphone. A reporter asked, "Miss C, how did you escape from the hijackers?" "I guess you could say I was lucky. The plane hit some turbulence and I lost my balance and fell, which is how I avoided getting hurt." "So you saw how the hijackers got into a gunfight?" Sylvia shook her head. "I only heard 2 gunshots, and then the hijackers were on the ground." According to the forensic report we received, both hijackers died from their partner's bullets. In other words, they shot each other and died on the spot. The reporters below were in disbelief, whispering among themselves, "Could there be some hidden secret here?" A female reporter then asked a pointed question. "Miss C, why did the hijackers take you as a hostage? As far as I know, you're an actress, and you're about to be a guest on the variety show Let's Go Traveling. Isn't it a bit too coincidental for you to be involved in a hijacking right now?" Guan Yao, on the stage, smirked. "I arranged for this reporter. Ziran, you want to be famous? I'll help you." Sylvia, hearing the reporter's insinuation, retorted, "Are you suggesting I staged this for publicity? So did I know the 2 hijackers, or did I instruct them to hijack the plane?" In a pink, girly room, Zhou Yunyi watched the live broadcast of the press conference with contempt. "Ziran, your reputation, which you worked so hard to clean up, is about to be ruined again." At the press conference, the female reporter, flustered by Sylvia's comeback, quickly tried to defend herself. "It's just that the hijackers died on the spot, while you, the hostage, were unharmed. I have reason to be suspicious." Sylvia was calm. "Before this press conference, I was at the police station assisting with the investigation. That's when I learned the true identities of the 2 hijackers. They weren't ordinary criminals. They were list fugitives wanted worldwide. If I had the ability to command international fugitives, why would I still be a list actress?" The tide of public opinion in the live chat immediately turned in her favor. Zhou Yunyi, watching this, angrily bit her nails. Sylvia then looked at Guan Yao on the stage, a wicked smile on her face. "Mr. Guan invited me to this press conference, saying he would explain the hijacking in detail." Guan Yao, hearing her mention him, started to sweat. Sylvia continued, "However, Why didn't Mr. Guan talk about how international fugitives managed to become flight attendants and bring guns on board? As the CEO of BIA Airlines, Mr. Guan avoids talking about a major security breach that concerns passenger safety. Yet he allows reporters to make ridiculous accusations against me. I can't help but suspect that Mr. Guan is trying to shift the blame and divert attention. Sacrificing my reputation is a small matter, but trying to cover up such a huge security flaw is a big one. If anyone can impersonate a flight attendant and bring a gun on a plane, how can we trust BIA Airlines with our safety in the future? Guan Yao, hit with Sylvia's barrage of questions, was speechless. He could only sweat profusely at a loss for words. In the live chat, comments supporting Ziran flooded the screen. As a result, the cheater Zhou Yunyi became so angry that she started throwing things. She screamed in frustration. Just then, a reporter received an email. He shouted, "Someone has released a video from the plane online!" The others, hearing this, all opened their laptops to watch. Guan Yao, in a daze, also found the video and played it. The video was displayed on the large screen behind him. It showed Sylvia with 2 guns pointed at her head. The reporters below, seeing this, understood the truth. The video matched Sylvia's description perfectly.